Hello, welcome to the very first episode of the Eldenwood Craft podcast. Very excited to be here today. I thought long and hard about doing this for a very long time, and I have started so many episodes that have found their way into the trash can. It's quite ridiculous, really. So today, which is Friday the 21st of October, I thought today is the day. It's now or never. So here I am. My name's Emma, and in this podcast I'll be having a chat about my crafty life. I live in the UK, in the south of the UK, and I'm coming to you today from my home, but not in the place that I'd expected to podcast from. I had hoped to be in my craft room today, but it's such a gloomy, miserable day outside that I had to decamp to somewhere that was a little bit brighter. So I'm in the room on the other side of the house next to my craft room, but hopefully next time I record it will be in my craft room, surrounded by all my lovely crafty bits and pieces. As I said, my name's Emma, and you can find me online pretty much everywhere actually as Eldenwood Craft. I'm mostly active on Instagram, but I also have an Eldenwood Craft Facebook page. I'm on Twitter, Pinterest, and I have a website which is eldenwoodcraft.co.uk, where I kind of have a blog. It's not been very active, but I'm hoping that by doing this podcast and getting the show notes on the blog, I'll be able to, or I'll get more into the habit of writing on the blog, because I do enjoy it, but it's just finding the time to do all these lovely things. Show notes, did I talk about show notes? Show notes I will be putting on the blog, so that's where they'll be. I'm not going to open a Ravelry group at the moment. We'll see how it goes. I know other podcasters have said they wouldn't do a Ravelry page and then have done one, but I think I would struggle to have yet another avenue that I've got to keep open and active and keep my eye on. So I'm hoping that by putting them on my website, that will be the best way to deal with that. So what will I be talking about today? Well, hoping to keep this quite a brief episode. I wanted to come and say hello, introduce myself to you, and to show you some of the things that I've been working on. I'm looking over here because I've got a big pile of bags with all my, or not all, some of my current whips in. I've also got an FO to show you, and a few recent treats that are sitting in front of me, and I just want to go and touch them and play with them, but I'll show you those later on. The other thing that I will be talking about in my podcast, but not today, sorry, I'm just a little bit distracted because I have a window here, as you can see, and there's a tree outside, and there's what appears to be a lovely family of great tits. I think they're great tits or blue tits. No, they're definitely great tits. Playing about in the trees, and they're lovely. I do love I love to see the birds in the trees. Anyway, distraction over. So yes, I was saying that I'm not going to be talking about my shop very much today. Mainly because I have just started a shop update and so don't really have anything to show you, but that will change over future podcasts, and I will just talk very briefly at some points about the shop. But just for today, I have an Etsy shop which is called Eldenwood Craft, in which I sell project bags for knitters and crafters and crocheters and any other type of craft that you like. So firstly, a little bit about me. Sorry, need to get naive podcaster trying moving out of shot. So let's get used to that. So firstly, a little bit about me then. As I said, I live in the UK. I'm married with one teenage daughter. I also have a full-time day job, which I do not intend to talk about on the podcast. And when I'm not working and when I'm not with my family, the rest of my time is basically consumed with crafting. I mainly do knitting, but I do like to dabble in other crafty loveliness, as you will see later on. Why am I doing the podcast? Well, I wanted, as I said at the beginning, I thought long and hard about doing this. And like so many other people, I really worried about whether or not I'd have a unique voice, whether I'd have anything different to offer. But I really did want to join in with the fun, because it has always looked like such good fun to be able to do a podcast, to chat to people around the world about things that you've been making and what your thoughts on different wools and yarns and things are. And I really, really wanted to do it. But I did think, oh, am I going to be intruding or stepping on somebody's toes, that sort of thing. And then I was watching, I can't remember who it was, forgive me, but I was watching someone else's podcast very recently, and they were talking about the same doubts that they had, and they said, but actually, well, the thing that made me realise that I should be doing it was that they said that really everybody's voice is unique, and everything that, you know, what you say, what I will be talking about is unique to me. The projects that I'm doing, the yarn that I'm using, the choices that I make. So actually everybody has got something to offer, and although it's a very crowded marketplace, the podcast or the crafting podcast marketplace, there's plenty of room for everybody. So that really gave me the impetus to say, yes, okay, I'm going to do it, and here I am today. And I know that if I don't upload this is probably the turning point for me. If I don't do it today, then it's just not going to get done. So no pressure whatsoever. And I thought I would also just have a very brief chat about why I craft. As I said, I have a busy, very demanding full-time day job that can be quite stressful, and I used to bring the work home with me, both physically and in my head. If it wasn't one, it was the other. And that can obviously lead to stresses. And then I started properly crafting a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and particularly since I started my Eldenwood craft shop, I've really found that I can really switch off from the day job when I get through the door at home in the evening. And so I really do find picking up the needles, picking up yarn, sitting in my craft room to be my happy place, my relaxing time. And I think it's really helped me just bring me back down and get rid of the stresses from the day job. So on to the reason why we're all here, the lovely knitting content. What I'm going to do today, as I said, I'm going to show you quite a few of the whips that I've got in progress. I don't have that many, don't worry, but I've brought about 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 or 6 with me to show you. And what I'm hoping is that by showing them on the podcast, that will give me the incentive to really get going on some of them that have been languishing a little bit, let's be honest. By showing them on the podcast, that'll give me the impetus to get going and to get them finished, because I do want to have some FOs to show you every now and then. So on to the first project, my sock project. Right, I don't know what happened then, but everything just seemed to collapse. So I was about to start talking about my whips, and let's get the first one out. I'm going to show you my current sock project first. Oops, all the The yarn's getting tangled in the cable. Oh gosh, that's not very neat. Right, here it is on on circular needles. It's a vanilla sock, and done a 2x2 cuff, knitted straight down the leg, and if you can see there, I have just put in the yarn for an afterthought heel. It's the first afterthought heel that I've done. Just want to give it a go, see how the heel fits. Actually, when I say it's the first afterthought heel I've done, it's not. I have knit or started to knit an afterthought heel, but I didn't really like it. But at that point in my knitting life, I wasn't really a very good sock knitter. Not that I'm a very good sock knitter now, but I think I know my way around a sock a bit better. So I'm hoping that by giving it another go, I'll be able to find a fit that works well. The yarn, it's actually quite unusual yarn for me. I tend to knit more out of, or I knit more muted colours, as you'll see as we go along. But I do really like this. It's yarn from Nora George, the brilliant Tracy Arnold, and it's, I don't know how well you can see that. I don't know if the lights, my yarn winder isn't very good and it tends to leave things popping out. There, it's a yarn from the Nora George Harry Potter House Crest Club, if I got that right. That Tracy Arnold ran at the beginning of the year. Once a month for 4 months, she would send you a skein of yarn in the colours of one of the Harry Potter house crests. And this one, I'm sure you know, it's the Gryffindor yarn, Gryffindor house crest. Sorry, I'm not doing that very well. Nervous podcaster, new podcaster, we will see. I hope it gets better. Anyway, so yes, there's not much to show you there really. Just a very basic sock. I'm using Knit Pro Zings 2.5mm needles, and as you saw, in amongst all the tangles, it's a very long circular needle. It's a bit too long, to be honest. I think this is 100 centimetres, which you can knit a shawl on, for goodness sake. You don't really need that much cable for a pair of socks, but it was what I had to hand when I started knitting. I knit most of my socks on 2.5mm needles, and I'm not really, I wouldn't say I have a preference between DPNs or circulars. I just tend to knit whatever is to hand. I do quite fancy having a go at the very small, the very tiny circular needles to see what that's like, so I think that might be a purchase coming soon. But yeah, I'm just enjoying knitting them. It's nice to have a plain vanilla sock to knit on, so you don't have to think about it very much. And this one in particular I'm really enjoying. It's Friday today, Friday the 21st of October, and I started this on, I think I started it on Wednesday, so that's pretty good going for me. If I keep going at this rate, I will have a pair of socks done in a week, which would be unheard of for me. So we will see how long that takes. Next on the needles is so next on the needles, I love this project. This is probably my favourite project at the moment. I'm just taking all out of the bag, and it's my shawl project. I like to have on the go a pair of socks, a shawl, and maybe something else. I'm not a monogamous knitter, although I do find that when I start knitting something like those socks, I will knit and I will knit and I will knit. and then I get fed up with it, and then I pick something else up and I knit and I knit and I knit. So while I don't have just one project on the go, I do tend to just knit on one thing at a time. Now, this has been on my needles for a few weeks, and I was very much inspired when I saw Pia, someone that I follow on Instagram, her version of this shawl, which was absolutely stunning. And I thought, right, I've got to knit with it. I've got to knit it. I have the perfect yarn to do it. So when I finished my last shawl, which was the Pebble Beach shawl by Curious Handmade by Helen Stewart, I cast this one on straight away, and I really, really do love it. So, what is it? It is the Spark of Grey shawl by Melanie Berg. Before I show you the shawl, I'll show you the yarn that I'm using. It's a 2-colour shawl, and these are the 2 colours that I'm using. And unlike my Harry Potter yarn, these are much more within my comfort zone. So a blue and a grey, which is blowing out a little bit in the light. Maybe if I bring it a bit closer. Not really. I think the light from the window. Put it back a bit, maybe that might help. Anyway, these are beautiful yarns. Really lovely. They are Kettle Yarn Co. Baskerville in the Dawn colourway and the Eventide colourway. I think that's how you meant to say it. These are stunning yarns, and I would knit with them again like a shot. Before I talk about them, I just want to do that because they smell so sheepy, and every time I get them in my hands I do have to have a little sniff of them. So yes, Kettle Yarn Co. Baskerville, and I've just got their webpage up just to tell you a bit about them. And it says that Baskerville combines 2 unique fibres, the Exmoor Blueface and Grey Gotland, with just a hint of luminous silk to play up the Gotland's natural shimmer. It really is lovely. I don't know if you can see, but it's got just yes, you can, I think, just a little bit of a halo. It's just lovely. It's certainly not superwash. It feels quite rustic, but quite it's not smooth. I don't really know the word to describe it. It feels very luxurious though, and I am really enjoying knitting it. And so you'll want to see what it is that I'm knitting. The Spark of Grey shawl is quite well known. I'm sure you will probably have seen it before, but here is my version knit up in these 2 colours. I'm about halfway through now. Let me hold it still so you can see the stitch pattern, which I really love. It's a slip stitch pattern. I hope you can see that. It's about a... Oh, let me tell you. Let me find the pattern. I just want to tell you how many pattern repeats it is. It's an 8-row pattern repeat. I've just got it printed in black and white. I don't think I'm giving anything away there. It's a paid for pattern on Ravelry. Yes, with this 8-row slip stitch pattern repeat. I'm really enjoying knitting it. I'm knitting it on, the needles are Chalgoos, 3.5mm, and again I'm really enjoying these needles. I think it's the only pair of Chalgoos that I own, I think, and I would very happily knit with those again. So yes, that is my Spark of Grey shawl. The next project bag over there, the next the next project that I'm going to show you, project on the floor, man down, is something that's been in a project bag untouched for a long time, and I have included it today because I really want to get it finished. And it's the 3-colour cashmere shawl. Here it is in its unfinished state. That's the top where I am at the moment. It's really soft. I am knitting this out of Knit Picks Capretta, which is a 80% fine merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. Broken ball band. The 2 colours that I have used so far, that really is going to blow out. I don't know what that colour is called, but it's kind of there. That I can't show you that. This is a grey browny colour and it's called Caviar. I really like this. The yarn is really soft, very soft against the skin. I'm really going to look forward to wearing it, but it's stalled for a long time because I just cannot decide what the 3rd colour is going to be. Being a 3-colour cashmere cow, it needs 3 colours. I've done 2, and there's a section now that needs the 3rd colour, and I am really undecided about what colour to do. I've seen lots of patterns on Ravelry, lots of projects on Ravelry rather, that look lovely, but I don't know, I'm really stuck about where to go with it. So by showing it to you here, I'm hoping that that gives me the incentive to find that elusive 3rd colour and to get it knitted up. It's just the pattern information. It's a paid for pattern on Ravelry. It's a Hohi Locatelli pattern, and I really love her patterns, and I would very much like to knit more of her work because she's a very beautiful designer. The needles that I'm using are the Knit Pro. These are the Knit Pro. Oh, I can't remember. What they're called. Knit Pro Symphonies, possibly. Anyway, it's the wooden needles. I've got an interchangeable set. They're not my favourite needles, but they actually work quite nicely with this very soft yarn, so I will just keep using those. Over to the pile. Right. My final project that I'm going to show you today is one that has been on my needles for a long time. I think many people have got one of these on their needles, and I don't envisage that I will be finishing it anytime soon, but I don't care because I'm enjoying knitting it. And it is, let me unwrap it, show you, let's go. It's a one of these. It's my scrappy sock blanket, my Cozy Memories blanket, my Mitred square blanket. I don't really have a name for it. My scrappy sock yarn blanket maybe. I pick it up every now and then in the evening when I'm sat with my husband watching TV. Might pick it up and do a square. There are so many lovely yarns in here. I won't go through them all. But it's just such a fun project. I like it now that it's got to the stage where you can fold it into blanket shape. Oh, look at that, that looks quite nice. So yes, you can fold it into a blanket shape, and if you feel like you're making a bit of progress on it, I'd love this to be massive. Whether it will be or not, whether I'll get fed up with it, I don't know, but I'm just really enjoying knitting on it. It's such fun, so simple. I can't remember whose pattern I have used, but the size of the squares that I'm using are 40. They're 40 stitches cast on, and my decreases, I'm doing a knit two together and then a slip knit, and that gives the two decreases down the centre. So yeah, really enjoying that. Don't have a huge number of scrappy ends, but I've got enough to keep me going, and I do like to pick up the odd bundle online. I'll just show you a couple that I have got lined up. I hope that's too rustly for you. So this set, oops, that's coming undone. Let me show you that end because that's a neater end. Oh, look at that! Isn't that lovely? This set comes from Selene, who's a UK dyer. I forget what I think this was like well, it was obviously bundled up as one set. I can't remember if it had a name or a theme, but the yarns are just beautiful. I haven't knit any up yet, but really looking forward to using some of these. Look at that one. That's just really zingy, isn't it? And the orange one, maybe I should use that first, given that it's the end of October. I think my favourite, I have two favourites in this, I can see straight away. This one here, right in the middle. A bit darker, isn't it, than some of the others. And this one here. Can you see that? That's very sort of, reminds me of heathland moors. So yes, that's they'll be going into the blanket soon, and then I'm going to rustle. I don't mind rustling in podcasts. It means that there's something lovely coming out of the bag. So these, over there, these are a set of minis that I picked up from Nora George, whose yarn I'm using for my sock. And these, again, these really are my colours. Blues, greys, neutrals really are what I like to knit with. So these, they're blowing out a little bit, but it's a lovely sort of gradient set of really lovely minis. So I will look forward to putting those in as well. There we go. Right, I'm going to put those away because they will get lost otherwise. Okay, and that's it for works in progress. I have got one finished object for you, and that's a pair of socks. I finished these this week, and they are my monkey socks. Show you the other one. I've always wanted to do that. So yeah, my monkey socks. Pattern is by Cookie A. And the yarn I used for this is from Yantan Tetherer Yarns. I'm a big Yantan Tetherer Yarns fan. Helen is the dyer there. If you haven't looked at her yarns that she does, then you should do, because they are super. This, again, not very reminiscent of the types of yarns that I like, or the colours of yarns that I like to use, but when I saw this on her website, it just spoke to me, so I had to have it. It's I don't know if it's officially called her Spangles colourway, but that's what we have named it, because of the colours. They certainly remind me of Spangle sweets that you could get in the UK in the 1970s. So yeah, so it was a fantastic pattern to knit. I really enjoyed it. Very intuitive once you got going on it. It's just a knits and purls and yarn overs and decreases, but it just gives this fantastic pattern. And I'd seen the pattern an awful lot on Ravelry and on Instagram, and I wanted to give it a go. So my monkey socks. There is an alternative version of the monkey socks. It's the no purl monkey socks. And I think once I've finished my vanilla socks, I might give that a go. Although there are a couple of other sock patterns that I'd really like to get on my needles as well. The honey badger socks and the the wildflower and thyme, or wildflower and honeycomb. I can't remember really, but you'll see them on future episodes. So, finished object. Just the one. I certainly won't have finished objects every week, that's for sure, because with working full time and having the Etsy shop and family life, there's not enough hours in the day to be able to produce multiple items of finished object knitwear, but I'll do my best. I'll knit as much as I can and do my best. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do, as podcasters like to, is to show some of the bits and pieces that they have acquired. And I've just got a few skeins of yarn from two of my absolute most favourite UK indie dyers. I've mentioned both of them already, Nora George and Yantan Tethera yarns, and I've been lucky enough over the last few weeks to have become the proud owner of several new skeins of yarn. It was my birthday at the beginning of the month, and my very clever and wonderful husband contacted Helen at Yantan Tethera Yarns and asked for her advice, and she came up with, let me see if I can find them, the following two skeins. This one here, which is going to blow out in the light, but it's lovely. It's her Yanadic base. Let's get that the right way around. So Yanadic base, it's 80% superwash merino and 20% silk. It's a 4-ply, 100 grams, 400 yards, 366 metres. It's so soft and lovely. And the colourway is driftwood. And I think I was lucky enough to become the proud owner of this before the colourway was released to the public. So that will make a really beautiful shawl. And then the other one, gosh, this is so clever. This is her Pedro twist base. Can you see her? Is that blowing out? Maybe if I do it on that side. No, I need to move away from the window for next time, I think. Anyway, this is her Pedro twist base. It is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 4-ply again, 100 grams, 399 yards, 365 metres, and it's the Winter Beach colourway. And you can really see, that's such a clever name. Love the blues in it, but then you have these, these are just amazing pops of colour inside. Don't know if it goes all. It's so bright and vibrant. And I'm really intrigued to see how this is going to knit up. I don't quite know what I will use it for at the moment, but I suspect it'll either be socks, or it might be a border on a shawl. That might be quite nice. Anyway, we will see. The other Yantan Tethera skein that I treated myself to, I just wanted to show you because I love this colourway. Look at that. It's on her Pedro base, and this is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It's slightly thinner than the other yarns I've just shown you. It's 464 yards, and this colourway is called Chimney Sweep, and you can see why. All those beautiful greys, some greens in there. Really lovely, and that will almost definitely be a shawl, I think. So yeah, really lovely. And then finally I have some Nora George yarns to show you. I purchased I made two purchases recently. Which one should I show you first? I'll show you these two first. These two, kind of similar-ish, very autumnal, lovely colours. This one is sock yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 100 grams, 400 metres, and it's called Harvest. I think you can see why. It reminds me of a bucket of fallen apples, and I think that will make a shawl? I think a shawl. Don't really want to put it on my feet. I'm going to end up with an awful lot of shawls, I think. And the other one, in reasonably similar colourways but a different base, is this. This is called Big Brown Bear. I love that name. And it's these beautiful sort of purples, very heathered colours, purples and greens, rusty colours. And this again, this is an MCN, 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, get away from my face, and 10% nylon, 100 grams, 400 metres, sock weight. Very soft, as you can imagine, with the cashmere in it. Show you that. Very nice. And that obviously is not going on my feet at all. That will be a shawl, without a doubt. And then the other yarns that I bought from Tracy, I bought these two together. She showed them on her Instagram feed, and I just had to have them straight away. They are both sock yarns. That one hasn't got, but I'll show them together. There's a silver and a navy blue. The silver is called Dumbledores Army, and it's a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 100 grams, 425 metres. And then this coordinating navy blue, I forget the detail on that and it's not on the label, but it'll be a sock yarn. But they just go together so beautifully. And again, I think this might be a shawl with a navy blue border. I think that would be really nice. The grey has got the odd pop of speckling throughout it. And here you can see it nicely. Sorts of blues. I don't know if it's greys and purples. Yeah, really nice. Lovely colour. Tracy and Helen are fabulous dyers, and I have quite a bit of their yarn, which I really must start working my way through. But I love to support British dyers, British indie dyers. They do such a super job, and I know there are a lot of people out there that do that work. And I will very definitely find my way around some of the other dyers, but they're the ones that sort of caught my eye when I first started realising the beauty of non-commercial dyed yarn. So that's really all I've got to say. I'm not quite sure how long I've been going on for, maybe about an hour, which was longer than I had anticipated. So yeah, I think I'll bring it to an end. When will I be back? I'm not sure. I'm thinking that I'd like to do this every 2 to 3 weeks. Well, I would like to do it every week, but in reality I just don't think I'll have the time to do it. So maybe every 2 to 3 weeks. The easiest way of finding out when I am back, if you want to watch again, and if you do, thank you ever so much. The easiest way to find out when I'm back is to subscribe, and then you'll get notified automatically when the next episode comes up. And if you've enjoyed the episode, please do give me a big thumbs up below. If you've got any questions or comments about the show, then they'd be very, very welcome. Anything that you've enjoyed, anything that I could do better, anything that was irritating you maybe. Oh, I don't know if I want to put that out there. But if you've got any questions, then leave them in the comments box below, or on the comment section in my on my website, in my blog, where the show notes will be. And I will look there, and maybe if there are questions I will answer them in the next episode. So I think that's about it. So until next time, thank you ever so much for watching. If you're still here, that's amazing if you have, and I really hope that we can catch up again soon. Thanks, bye.